Hey guys, it's Kevin, and this is going to be another movie review for you guys. Now, this movie I'm going to be reviewing, I've wanted to see this movie for a while now. It's a movie that was actually one of my most anticipated movies of this month. Probably my most anticipated, honestly. It was a movie that, out of all the movies coming out this month, it was the one I was most looking forward to. And that movie I'm going to be reviewing is Chappie. Chappie was a movie that once the first trailer came out, I said to myself, I cannot wait to see this movie. I was planning on seeing it in theaters when it came out last week, but what ended up happening was it got so much negative responses, and I'm like, it can't be that bad. So I told myself, okay, I'll wait till it comes on to Solar Movie. It came on to Solar Movie, and I just watched it, and I have to say, I really do agree. Chappie is definitely not as good as it could have been. Honestly, it's kind of forgettable. And I really feel that after this, Neil Blomkamp definitely needs to change his style. And it just was not as good as it could have been. I'm going to talk about really the big problems with Chappie. But first, let's get into the plot of Chappie, which honestly is awesome. The plot of Chappie is just, it's awesome. And that's one of the reasons why, just hearing the plot, it's like, how could this have been bad? Seriously, because the plot is basically it takes place in the near future where crime is patrolled by these police force and these like police robots, and one police droid, Chappie, is basically um basically there's this new robot created that Dev Patel is creating called Chappie, who he wants him to, he creates Chappie and everything, and he is the first robot to have complete human intelligence. He can think like a human, he can move around, he can do his own stuff, he doesn't have anyone controlling him. In fact, they are making robots like this in real life, and at the same time, though, there's this guy, there's this guy Vincent Morrow. He has these big robots that he thinks are better to serve the world and everything, but then the movie completely changes after something else happens, and I don't really want to talk about it. It's very hard to explain. I don't really want to get much into it because I really did not enjoy this movie. I want to enjoy it a lot more than I did. I'm going to stress right now, it's not a terrible movie. It's not a terrible movie. There are some very good things about it that I definitely really enjoyed. I'm going to get to that. First of all, for the first 20 or so, I'd say like 30 minutes of this movie, I was really, really enjoying it. I'm like, okay, I think this movie's gonna be really good. I mean, we see Dev Patel, we see what he's going through. He wants to create this robot. Everyone's telling him it's not gonna work and that's a terrible idea. But you see the determination he has, and you see this bond he starts to form with it. You see that, Vincent Moore, he's not having a very good life, and you see the tension between those two. But then the movie completely changes once we bring Ninja and Yolandi into the story. And I'm going to talk about why they're here and their overall thing with the movie. But first, let's get into the acting in this movie. Now, this is something that I really want to talk about because in terms of acting, there's nothing really extraordinary here, and that's a huge problem for me. There were a lot of things I was hoping that Chappie would do. First of all, I thought Chappie was going to be a movie that makes a statement about human intelligence robots and how robots are just like us and how they can think like us and feel like us. I thought that's really what it was going to do. But that's not what it does. I will say, though, the best part of this movie is Sharlto Copley as Chappie, who he is great as Chappie. I mean, he is the most adorable thing ever. The problem is that 75% of this movie, Chappie is an absolute asshole, and that's because of Ninja's character, which I will get into Ninja's character. But when Chappie's not an asshole, he is this adorable robot who he did such a great job at portraying this robot. I think Sharlto Copley is doing a very good job. Now, he's no Andy Serkis, but he definitely is doing a very good job with portraying this robot. I thought he did a very good job with that, especially because it's entirely in this robot suit. I thought he did a very good job with that. Dev Patel did a great job in this movie. My problem with his character is that we see him in the first 30 minutes, and then he's not shown throughout a lot of this movie, and you don't really get to see a lot of their overall relationship. I wanted to see more of Dion bonding with Chappie, and Dion, how their overall relationship is, how he is teaching Chappie more of the world, and we don't really see that in this movie. We don't really get to see Dion and Chappie bond much, and that's basically because of our main problem here. Ninja and Yolandi. They are these two criminals they are gangsters who want to use Chappie to basically get him to fight crime, and I'm going to talk about them overall. Now, first of all, I want to talk about Ninja this guy never act again, okay? He cannot act, and he ruined this movie for me. He completely ruins the movie. The thing with Ninja's character is that he is basically the biggest part of this movie, and he gets Chappie to turn into like this asshole character because he wants Chappie to fight, to basically like steal cars and do all this crazy criminal, and basically wants Chappie to turn into a criminal, and Chappie is okay with this, and he starts talking like a gangster, and it's they try to make it funny and it doesn't work, and Ninja's performance was just awful. There's a scene where you're supposed to care for him. I laughed because he is so bad at acting. Really, he's a terrible actor, and please never act again. And his character is just so out of place, I have to say. I mean, when you have this whole war going on, and he's just acting like a complete gangster throughout the whole thing, and he's cursing, it just feels like he's in the wrong movie. It really does. I mean, just the fact that he's in this movie, it just felt like to me that he was in the wrong movie. It really did, and I hated his character. I really did. Every time he was on the screen, I wanted him off the screen. He was so annoying, and he ruined the movie for me. I will say, though, Yolandi, I actually really do like her character because she wants to create an overall bond with Chappie. In fact, she's kind of his mother. She raises him. She thinks of him as this little kid. I like their relationship overall. The problem is we don't get to focus on the things that we really care about because it all goes to Ninja. Jose Pablo Cantillo as America, same problem with Ninja. He works with Ninja and he's focused on too much, which means that the characters we're supposed to care about are highly underused. Sigourney Weaver as Michelle Bradley, I don't have anything to say about her because you can't say anything about her. She's in like 2 scenes, and she is the one that is hunting down these robots. She wants to kill all of them because she thinks that they're going to destroy human intelligence, and it's really interesting, but we barely see any of her character because we focus so much on things we don't care about, and because of this, Hugh Jackman's character, Vincent Moore, is highly underused, and you don't get to see much of his motivations, and you care about his character so much because of the fact that we don't get to see much of him, and you wish that you saw more of him because he really is a very interesting character. In fact, in the beginning of the movie, he ends up losing he in the beginning of the movie you feel really bad for him. So I mean, there's some really bad stuff that happens. His funding's cut for his own attack for his own robot. You know, his funding's cut for that, and you feel really bad for him because of that. And he starts to get really jealous of Dion. The problem is we don't see a lot of this feud between them, and you're thinking that this movie is going to show their bonding overall, and it doesn't show that at all, and it really ruined the movie. So in terms of acting, the problem is the two most important characters are underused, and for what they have, they're really good. But they're very underused, and they don't have a lot to do in this movie. Dev Patel is by far the best part of this movie, but he doesn't have a lot to do in this movie, and it's really a big problem here. And I think a lot of it is the directing by Neil Blomkamp. He did not know what he wanted to do with this movie. Okay, the first half of this movie is great. The first 30 minutes, it's this intense action. You see the crime that's going on. You see the robots that are fighting. You see him wanting to create this robot. And then after Chappie is kidnapped by Yolandi and Ninja, the movie completely changes. It turns to this silly movie that has to do with it. Does Chappie want to be a criminal or not? And it just becomes so uninteresting. And I don't know why Neil Blomkamp did this. Because Neil Blomkamp made District 9. Okay, great. Elysium was okay. It's nothing that I'll ever really watch again, but Chappie is by far his worst movie, and that's because he did not know what direction he wanted to go in, and it really ruined the movie. It ruined the movie, and it's really sad that it ruined the movie. Unfortunately, the worst part of this movie is the screenplay. It really is. The lines in here, some of them are absolutely laughable, and they shouldn't be. The screenplay is terrible to a lot of this movie. It's all over the place. The movie does not know what it wants to be. There's a scene where, and here's the other thing I hate about this movie. They want you to care for every single one of these characters. Ninja, Yolandi, you're supposed to care for them. Yolandi, I sort of care about. Ninja, I don't give two shits about. You're supposed to care for him, and you don't. There's no reason why you should care for him. And it's like, I don't want to care about him. I want to focus on Dion and Chappie. I want to focus on Yolandi and Chappie because those are the characters that actually are doing something for him and are helping him out, not just having him become a gangster, because that's not interesting to watch. There's some very good scenes in here that hints at something bigger happening. There's a scene where, and Chris Stuckman I know talked about this in his review, Chappie's watching a He-Man cartoon, and he starts to embody how He-Man is in that cartoon. You think, okay, maybe he's going to learn things from the TV. In fact, there are parts of this movie where I thought it was going to be like E.T., and that's not what it is at all. And I think the biggest problem with this movie is that it's rated R. It really is. That's the biggest problem. I think this movie did not need to be rated R. I think it did not need to be as dark. Yes, it could have been as dark as it was, but you could have done this as PG-13, and it still would have been a great movie. It would have been great if it would have been as dark and as raunchy as it is. I feel the movie was way too hard R, and it really was a huge problem for me. The score by Hans Zimmer is fantastic. It's always fantastic. He's never getting a bad score. Cinematography is great. Now, my biggest thing here is, though, the action sequences. I'd like to say they're breathtaking, but really all I can say is that we have a really awesome action sequence, and the problem is you don't really care about any of the characters, so when these action sequences are happening, all you think is that, oh, that's a really cool action sequence. You don't think, oh, I really like this. No, you just, you don't think, you're not on the edge of your seat, you're not worrying about the characters because you just don't get enough time to develop them, and it's a huge, huge problem, and it just drags the movie down. The movie goes on for way too long than it needs to, and the first 30 minutes I was so into it, but after Chappie got kidnapped by Yolandi and Ninja, I just lost so much interest in this movie, and, after that whole thing happened, it's just like, I really want this movie to end, and the third half of this movie, they have something, they have a good idea, but it just doesn't work. And I'm going to say right now, the ending of this movie was very cheesy and very stupid and very generic and not at all what I wanted this movie to do. Because again, I thought this movie was going to have some sort of social commentary, and it really doesn't. There's supposed to be some sort of dramaticness to it, and it's not really dramatic because you don't care. You don't. You don't care because there's not enough time spent on these characters. There's more time spent on Ninja teaching Chappie to be a gangster than there is on developing these characters. And we develop in the first 30 minutes, but after the whole thing with Ninja happens, then it's just like, fuck it, we're not going to care about this anymore. And it really ruined a very good idea. What could have been a really great, solid movie about, comparing robots to humans could have been really cool with that. Really ruined the movie a lot. And unfortunately, because of that, I have to give Chappie a D or a 2 out of 5 because it really was very disappointing for me. I wanted this to be a lot better than it was, and it really was not as good as it could have been. It does have some things that are very good to it. There are some scenes I definitely really enjoy. The scenes in the beginning with Dion teaching Chappie, just talking to Chappie, teaching him, basically just like we see in the trailer. I'm going to say this, guys. The scenes that you want to see with the bonding, they're all in the trailer. Every scene that you see in the first trailer are the only touching scenes of this movie. Those are the only scenes where Chappie is actually, you think Chappie's adorable. The other scenes you didn't see is when Chappie's an asshole. And they only did that because they wanted to market this as like an ET, which I wish this would have been because it wasn't that. And it really ruined the movie for me and just really took me out of the movie. But overall, guys, this is my review of Chappie. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you guys saw this movie. Overall, guys, I was really disappointed by it. I wanted this movie to be a lot better than it was. In fact, I'm going to get to spoilers right now about something that I just feel ruined the movie and something that I did not care about. So, I really want to talk about it. Okay, so these are spoilers now. Let's talk about when Yolandi died. When Yolandi died, I honestly didn't care. I understand she was his mother, but we didn't see enough of her character, enough of their bond for me to actually care a lot about her character. And when she died, I laughed. Ninja's reaction was hilarious. Like, he's like, no! Like, the way he reacted, I thought was really funny. And then the ending where he ends up putting Dion in a robot, what? That was stupid. And then when he makes a robot resembling Yolandi, I don't know if that's the movie trying to say that we're all like robots, but it doesn't work. It really didn't. If the movie's trying to have some sort of social commentary there, sorry, but you lost me when you started making jokes about gangsters. Yeah, it didn't work at all. And that's the other thing. The movie tries to be very funny at points, and it's not funny. At no point is this movie funny. There's not one point where I laughed at anything that Chappie said. There's not one point... Okay, there are some points where I thought Chappie was adorable with some of the things he said, but when he was trying to be a gangster, it was not funny. And they were trying to make it funny. It was not funny whatsoever. And there are times you're supposed to feel bad for Chappie, but you don't really feel bad for him either, and it just does not work overall. And really, Chappie just is a giant mess. It's a giant mess, and it just could have been a lot better than it was. But that's basically my review of Chappie. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you guys saw this movie, if you have seen it. And honestly, guys, I really don't recommend this movie. I can't recommend this movie. I want to, but I can't recommend it. If you guys want to see a really awesome action movie, see Kingsman. Kingsman is the movie to see for that. I thought this movie was going to be better than Kingsman, and I don't know what I was thinking. It really wasn't. Overall, it was really disappointing. I wanted it to be a lot better than it was, but it really wasn't, and it really was just a mess. But that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoy it. I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for another movie review. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.